Now, let me give you a little bit of background. For about 40 years, I have been in earnest trying to figure out how God does, figure out's the wrong word, searching for the things that God hid. You know, the glory of God is to conceal a matter, and the glory of kings is to search it out. And so I've been looking for it. And it wasn't just a matter of fascination or curiosity. For me, it was a matter of survival. When I came to this country, I had to learn the language. It was very difficult. I was from Canada and I moved to Tennessee, and they had to learn me how to talk rap proper. So there was a bit of a thing I had to go through there. But I had just come from in Toronto, where I had not done terribly well. And I had a job I didn't particularly want, but God told me to take it. And I said, God, you're going to have to show me how to do things. And I began in earnest for survival to study his ways. And like, show me how to sell, for example. Because there's not a chapter in the Bible that says, turn to the book of Job, and under the sales section in Job, chapter 3, you're going to find out how to sell. It doesn't do that. So I had to study it and find out, you know, Proverbs is a book of the management of people and resources and how to do that. And so I began to study and to discover so many things for business. And recently, I began to focus on this topic of influence. And I'm always interested to know how Jesus did something. Can I find a biblical model? Can I find it in Jesus? If not, is there someplace in the scripture I can find it, learn a lesson from it? Not just the laying on the ground scripture that tells you something like, you know, be honest, work hard, be diligent, and all those kinds of things. But is there something deeper that I can find? Because I was wondering, how did Jesus go from obscurity to he couldn't get away from people? Like, he'd go up in the mountain or go someplace, and thousands of people would find out he's over there, and they went over there. You know, he had to get on a boat or go walking on the water just to kind of get some space, a little distance sometimes. And so I wanted to understand how he did that. And so I'm going to share with you today 4 of the 8 strategies that Jesus modeled to become the most influential figure in all of human history. I'm going to go through that, set it up a little bit, and then we're going to go through 4 of the strategies. Next month, I'm going to do the last 4. I was watching all this again today, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm going to be using so much of that. I'm going to be doing a webinar tonight at 8 p.m. for the Jesus School of Business. If anybody's interested in that, I'll tell you more at the end. But I'll be doing that tonight. And I was looking at all this stuff. I thought, oh, this is so spot on. So let me just set it up for you a little bit. Are you ready for a different kind of journey? Have you ever felt small, but you were dreaming big? Do you have a God-given vision, but you're facing limited resources? You're in great company. We're exploring the paths of Jesus from overlooked Nazareth to world-changing influence. As you know, the question was, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And that was the question that was, you know, that surfaced on occasion. Maybe you got a fire in your belly, you got a God-given vision for your business, but when you look around, all you see are limited resources, a tiny audience, or a world that just doesn't get you. They don't understand what you're trying to build. They don't see what you see. I'm going to take you on a journey into the heart of a story that began in the dusty, overlooked village of Nazareth. Imagine this. You got a young man, Jesus Christ, growing up in a town so unremarkable that people would scoff. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? It's a question that probably echoes in the hearts of many entrepreneurs today. It's that nagging question. Can anything truly significant come from my humble beginnings, from my limited setup? Can anything good come out of me? Is there anything good? Can anything good be accomplished in that way? That's the question that comes out. And the answer is yes, absolutely, a resounding yes. Here's what we're going to uncover. We're going to see Jesus' early days in a new light and then leverage your own. We're going to unlock today 4 of the 8 potent influence strategies that he modeled. And in fact, let me go back here for a second. Jesus' early days. How did he not just navigate, but actually leverage his obscure beginnings? The 8 strategies. He didn't just teach, he modeled. And we're going to talk about them. Incredible strategies for connecting with people and creating change. Now, listen, I'm looking at Jesus and thinking he still had to get a crowd. He still had to persuade people and do certain things. And he had a strategy. The second strategy I'm going to teach with you is one that I'm actively engaged in currently. And it's a really big one, but we'll get there in a minute. He bridged ancient wisdom with modern business ethically and effectively. This is not about quoting scripture. It's about translating profound biblical truths of leadership and influence into ethical and effective, even cutting-edge business strategies for today's marketplace. Next is develop your personal action plan. This is what we're going to get to for impact. You're going to get your hands on concrete, practical steps to weave relational, transformational, and purpose-driven methods into the very fabric of how you grow your influence and your venture's reach. And we're going to go deeper. This is more than just a business strategy. It's an invitation to some very serious heart work. I'm telling you, if you will tune in for the next, I'll be done here before dinner. If you'll just tune in and say, God, speak to me through this, you will find him doing some heart work in you right now. That I promise you. Aligning your personal dreams and your business goals with these timeless, impact-focused principles. And you're going to get equipped for the road ahead. I've packed the workbook, which I'm going to be giving out next time. The full workbook. I don't remember, 50, 60 pages, whatever it is. Full workbook with a lot of details in it. We'll be given out when we're finished. It's got a lot of self-reflective exercises. It's got thought-provoking case studies. You might even recognize some modern-day parallels. Knowledge checks to solidify your learning and assignments designed to push you from insight into real-world action. So let's talk about your starting point, okay? Greatness, catch this. Greatness, I love this. Greatness often whispers before it roars. It often whispers before it roars. The key idea here is that your origins don't dictate your destiny. The biblical foundation, you'll see it in Isaiah 53, says, he grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty, no majesty to attract us to him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain, like one from whom people hide their faces. He was despised, and we held him in low esteem. That's Isaiah 53. And the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And of the increase of his government and peace, there will be no end. Think about that. One hand, he's like, who wants that guy? And the other hand, he becomes, and he is, the government will be upon his shoulders. The king of all creation was not born in a palace. He arrived in a humble stable, laid in an animal's feeding trough, and became who he became in this world. There was no guest room available for them. In his childhood, he was spent in Nazareth, a town so off the map, like that's when Philip said, hey, I found this guy. And he said, what, Nazareth? Can anything good come from that? So listen, lasting greatness often springs from the places no one's looking, from the people that everyone underestimates. Is there anybody on this call that qualifies for somebody that's in your early days, no one was looking for you? No one counted on, nobody thought anything of you. You're not going to amount to anything. Your Nazareth is not your nemesis. Your starting point does not define your potential. You can build from your garage. Significant world-changing impact can and often does rise from the most humble of beginnings, especially when guided by crystal clear vision, rock solid core values, and a deep alignment with the one who authors all great stories. The world might not see your brilliance yet, but that doesn't mean it's not there, not waiting to shine. So if you feel small, if you feel unknown or under-resourced, get excited because it's about to change. Resist the powerful urge to chase after premature applause, premature growth, or to play the comparison game. You know, when you're comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 21, that's a recipe for discouragement. Acknowledge your start without judgment. Focus on a solid foundation, core values, and clear vision. What is your Nazareth moment? How can you reframe perceived limitations into strengths? You know, Apple and Amazon, interestingly, Apple was birthed in a garage, fueled by the passion of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Amazon, I didn't know this, but Jeff Bezos started it as an online bookstore, also from inside his garage. They didn't start with big fancy headquarters. They started in the garage. They started with an idea and a relentless commitment, a whole lot of work done in obscurity before the world even knew their names. Their initial Nazareth, that garage there, didn't stop them. It became a powerful part of their origin story, a testament to what's possible. And I know it because I understand that beginning thing, believe me, and I bet you do too. And the thing is, sometimes we hadn't got we hadn't got liftoff yet, and we just like going down the runway, and it just seems like, is this thing ever going to get in the air? Well, there's ways for that to happen. So let me get to the first strategy of the 4 that we're going to cover today. Number 1, what is your unshakable why? The compass that never ever fails. What is really driving you? It's a deep, authentic, God-breathed purpose is the bedrock of lasting influence. I'm not talking about just some fanciful thing. I'm talking about purpose, not just any purpose, but the deep, unshakable, God-given why that fuels you when the going gets tough. And it does get tough. You know, we've all been there. You know that story in Luke's gospel? Jesus' parents, Mary and Joseph, were frantically searching for him after the Passover feast in Jerusalem. And where did they find him? They found him in the temple. He was sitting with the learned teachers, listening intently, asking profound questions. And when his worried parents finally got up with him, his response wasn't that of a rebellious teenager. It was packed with a deep, mission-centered awareness. He said, "Why were you searching for me? Didn't you know I had to be about my Father's business?" He had that deep in him. That early declaration wasn't just a kid talking. It was a glimpse into a soul already laser focused on a divine purpose. What is yours? And later, when he stepped into his public ministry, he didn't mince words about why he was there. He said, "The Son of Man came to seek and to save that which was lost." His life was not a random series of events. It was guided every step by a profound, divinely given purpose. And friends, we tend to lose that sometimes. We tend to lose the awareness of it. And we get bogged down into the issues and the problems and the challenges. And I'm going to tell you, the thing we got to reconnect with is that a deep, authentic, God-breathed purpose is the absolute bedrock upon which true, lasting influence is built. And it's very good to reconnect every once in a while. Say, "God, what's this about? What's the mission? Help me get focused again." Connect with your unshakable why. Lead with mission. This is what it looks like. Lead with mission, not just marketing. The entrepreneurial principle is this, that a purpose-driven business is magnetic and sustainable. Your why provides direction, resilience, and attraction. So lead with a mission that is so clear and so compelling that it gives you goosebumps. Can you imagine that? Like, this is why I'm doing this. It gives me something, not just with clever marketing slogans or a spreadsheet focused solely on profit. And maybe you're thinking, well, hey, I'm in the tire business, or I'm in this business. It's hard to get goosebumps about that. Why are you in that business? What, do you think God just said, well, you know, I do what you want, I don't care? Or does he have you there in a place, in a reason, for a time to reach a certain people? Are you mindful of why God has you in the place that he has you? Who is he bringing across your path because somebody needs a new set of tires? Think about this. This kind of purpose will give you unwavering direction. It's your North Star. It's It's the compass that keeps you on course when you're making those tough strategic decisions or even just navigating the daily grind. It also will give you bulletproof resilience, but you got to revisit that. Like, what is this? What am I doing? I do this all the time. I go back and say, why am I in here? Why am I doing this? What's this about? People ask me about the Jesus School of Business. Ultimately, I tell them it's not about making you millions of dollars. It's done that for my clients, but that's not what it's for. For me, my purpose is connecting you with Jesus Christ so that you have this forged like molten steel connection with Jesus that will carry you through anything and everything after that. It's your fuel in your tank that keeps you going when you hit those inevitable roadblocks, those moments when you feel like throwing in the towel. Your why will pick you up, dust you off, and point you forward. And also magnetic attraction, that beautiful thing, that magnetic attraction. It draws the right people to you. A team that's fired up and committed, customers who don't just want to buy from you, but they believe in you and they believe in what you stand for. And partners who want to link arms with you because they resonate with your mission. So articulate your core purpose. Go beyond products and services. What problem do you solve? What positive change do you create? What are you really doing? You're helping somebody with even if it's with their tires. Why is that important? Because maybe they need those tires to get to where they're going because they're going to whatever it is. You're serving something in a very important capacity. If money were no object, what would be your impact? What would you want to go after? What's your single compelling why sentence? You know, there's a company called Patagonia. Their thing is, hey, we're in business to save our home planet. That may not be resonant for you, but it resonates with a lot of people. So lead with mission, not just marketing. Strategy number 1 is a very important strategy. What's my why? You got to get clear on that, because what we're trying to do is get influence. And influence people are attracted to somebody with a mission, with a purpose. And they may not be attracted to your mission or purpose, but some people will be. And there'll be a fierceness, a loyalty that'll come out of it. But strategy number 2, I love this one. Go deep and then go wide. Your own backyard first. Okay. For now, let's just hold off on the world domination. I mean, I love doing that in the game of Risk. If anybody's ever played that, I like it. But for now, let's just lay that aside. Depth precedes breadth. Authentic, sustainable influence grows from concentrated effort. Influence grows from consistent investment in your local niche or early adopters. Now, when I say local, that doesn't have to be geographical. It can be psychographical. It can be, there's other ways to categorize, but within your niche. Once you've got your God-given why burning bright, it's huge. But now, where do you actually start making an impact? Did Jesus launch his ministry with a global press tour? Did he launch it with a massive ad budget? No. He went locally and he went deep. The Gospels are filled with examples of this focused local approach. His early miracles, like turning water into wine at Cana, healing the sick in Capernaum, happened in very specific places that were local, impacting specific people. His most famous sermon, the Sermon on the Mount, was delivered to a crowd in a particular location. He didn't just broadcast his message, he engaged with people in their context. Even when he sent out his disciples, his instructions were often to focus their efforts. He says, then these 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Don't go among the Gentiles. Don't enter into the town of the Samaritans. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. So start where you are. Establish a strong foundation and create deep impact locally before expanding broadly. Now, I mean that locally, that doesn't, again, have to be geographical, but you want to create that sense of focus on the niche. Authentic, sustainable influence almost always grows from a deep, concentrated effort before it ever achieves widespread reach. In other words, you want to get that fire hotter, 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 hotter. And then once it's to the right temperature, then we expand it. Matthew 4:23. This is something I'm doing right now that I asked the Lord not that long ago. I said, Lord Jesus, how did you do this? I mean, nobody knew who you were, at the beginning. And then you went to Egypt, with your dad and, with Joseph and Mary. And then you come back and they say you worked in a carpenter shop, or maybe it was stonemason, whatever it was. You were doing that kind of work with all that for all those years, and seemed like hardly anybody knew you. Nobody paid much attention. And then out in a short time, in about 3 years, roughly. You go from who's that guy to I mean, it never happened like that before. How did that happen? And it says in Matthew 4:23, and you read it again in Matthew 9, it says, Jesus went about, now here's a clue here, folks. He went about all of Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all kinds of sicknesses. Now, if you're in business, I would urge you to think about this. I want to gain influence in my market sphere. So how can I educate my market space? Maybe it's a blog, maybe it's a YouTube channel, maybe it's social media, maybe it's something like that, but a consistent way of educating my market on something that's relevant and of interest to them. I'm going to find that thing and I'm going to educate. That's number one. Number two, he was preaching. The word teaching and preaching, those are two different words. Teaching is more like didactic. It's more, it's structured teaching. But the preaching is the word charisma, which is a declarative kind of thing. It's like passionate, boom, and it's inspirational. So what can you do that will prepare your market space with inspirational, uplifting, so that they think of you when the time comes, when it comes time when they need healing. In other words, their whatever kind of business you're in fixes a problem for somebody. When they need that problem fixed, you're there with it, because those are the three things that he did. And it's repeated over again, that he taught, he preached, and he healed. Taught, preach, healed, taught, preach, healed, taught, preach, healed. That's what he did. So you think about that. How do I do that in my business? How can I educate? How can I inspire? And how do I, in my business, bring healing to their needs? You're in the lawn care business, their grass is 2 feet tall. They need healing. You can fix that. How can you consistently inform and inspire your market to condition them for you and your offer when the time is right? Okay. There we go. Planting seeds, not just scattering them. Entrepreneurial principle is this: dominate your Galilee first. And again, that doesn't have to be geographical. It can be the niche. Prove your concept, build loyalty, understand your core audience deeply. We're going to get into Genesis 1:28 in a minute. But who is your primary, most immediate audience? Who can you serve exceptionally well right now? How can you go deeper with them? How can you build stronger relationships, offer more tailored value, and truly understand their world? What does it look like to become a trusted, indispensable resource within your initial niche or community? I mean, that's frankly, when Craig, you brought up Dana. I mean, Craig, you're meeting a need, not only in your business, but with Ignite, but Dana is doing something as well. He's becoming an indispensable resource for you and for hopefully thousands of others. Identify what is your core community / niche. Who are the people that you are best positioned to serve right now? Who are they? Be specific. Is it geographic? Is it a particular industry? Is there a demographic with a unique need? And then become an expert in their world. Immerse yourself. What are their biggest challenges, their deepest desires, their unspoken frustrations? Do you know that? Have you learned that? Do you get that? How can your product or service become an undeniable solution for them? Where's your Cana? Where's your Capernaum? How can you go deeper with your initial group? Build real relationships. Don't just see them as customers. See them as people. Engage, listen, serve. Word of mouth from a deeply satisfied local base is incredibly powerful. And then refine and perfect. Use this focused engagement to get feedback. Iterate on your offerings and perfect your processes. See, it's that local thing that you can make mistakes because they know you and they trust you. You're more familiar with to them. And you can make your mistakes there. It's not like making it in front of God and everybody. You're just doing it on a local basis, and you can refine and perfect. They're your local laboratory. It's where you work out the kinks before you take the show on the road. Let me show you Genesis 1:28 real quick. This is the mandate for you. Everybody on this call, if you're in business, this is your mandate. Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. This is part 1 of the 7-part mandate, but the first 4 are right here. Number 1, he says, be fruitful. Okay, this is you got to produce a product or service of value. This is the idea of being fruitful. Before you can multiply, you first got to learn how to be fruitful. Work out the kinks, develop your skills, get an ROI on your investment. And then you're going to multiply. Okay. After you become fruitful, after you got the kinks worked out, now I've got this thing. Now we're going to multiply. This is where you master your skills and begin to multiply your sales, your profits, and your wealth 30, 60, 100-fold. This is where you reproduce. This is about scaling up. And then the next part of verse 28 is to fill the earth, to enlarge. Multiplication is limited by your jurisdiction. So you got to enlarge your territory to accommodate the multiplication. This is, you need distribution channels. You got to have that. And then fourthly, you're going to have to, you don't have to, but you can. This is subdue, bring into subjection. We are called to be the head, not the tail, to lend and not borrow. The borrower is subject to the lender. Be the lender, not the borrower. Control the market. Have the market follow and respond to you. That's the Genesis 1:28 mandate. Maybe you knew this but maybe you didn't. That's the mandate right there. Now, business has 3 core functions. This is a little side note. Number one, you got to create value. So if they're not responding very well, one of the questions you want to know is, have I created sufficient value? And if the answer is yes, then you got to sell the value, effectively communicate that value to the right audience and make sales. And then number 3, you got to deliver value. Meet or exceed the customer expectations. Promise big, but deliver bigger. I've heard it say promise small, deliver big. I'm rather promise big and deliver way bigger. That's me. So that's that. Now, let me check my time. Okay. Strategy number 3 of the 4 we're going to cover today. Dare to be different. I actually, if we had like an open-ended time, I would stop and let's do this together, interact with you a little bit. But I'm wanting to get through this. We'll see how much time we have at the end. If you got questions, make a note. If I have a few minutes at the end, I'll do it. We've got 2 more strategies to go. But strategy number 3, dare to be different and not just a little bit better. Okay. Are you blending in or are you boldly standing out? Well, the remarkable difference creates unforgettable impact. Let me say that again. Remarkable difference creates unforgettable impact. Don't just upgrade the status quo, offer a radically different way. If you look at the ministry of Jesus, he wasn't just a slightly improved version of the religious teachers of his day. He was remarkably different. His teachings, his methods, his authority, they were unlike anything that anyone had ever encountered. He didn't just offer a minor upgrade to the status quo. He presented a radically different kingdom, a whole new way of seeing God, ourselves, and even the world. And that, my friends, is a massive key to his enduring influence. Think about how the Gospels describe the reaction to Jesus' teaching. It says, when Jesus had finished saying these things, the crowds were amazed at his teaching because he taught as one who had authority and not as their teachers of the law. They were amazed. Why? Because it was different. The teachers of the law often got bogged down in quoting other rabbis. Endless debates over minutiae. But Jesus spoke with a directness, a clarity, an inherent authority that was utterly compelling. He didn't just interpret the law, he revealed its heart. He didn't just offer platitudes, he offered transformation. Think about his parables. Stories that turn conventional wisdom on its head. The Good Samaritan, that went over. The Prodigal Son. These weren't just nice tales. They were radical reimaginings of who God is and who we are called to be. He healed on the Sabbath. He ate with sinners. He challenged the powerful. He was, in every sense, remarkably different. The core truth in this one, friends, is that remarkable difference creates unforgettable impact. My urging to you, if we were spending more time, we had the afternoon, I would say, how are we going to do this? How are you going to do this? This isn't just like you just put it in the chat. It's not it. You have to think this through, pray this through. What is that thing that's going to be a remarkable difference? Not just different, but remarkably different. How can I do that? Because that's what's going to give you influence, going to get you attention. If you can deliver on the goods, you've got something there. You say, is this a me too or a wow, that's new? Okay. The principle here is being remarkably different is more powerful than being incrementally better. So carve out your unique space. Challenge the status quo. Identify your unique genius. What is that? Listen to unmet needs. Don't be afraid to polarize, at least a little bit. It's easy to look at what competitors are doing and try to emulate them, maybe with a slight twist. But the real breakthroughs, The ventures that create passionate followings often come from those who dare to ask, what if we did this completely differently? That's what Steve Jobs did with the phone, by the way, introducing the iPhone. I mean, that was a total like, whoa. I mean, I saw one commercial, probably the only time in my life where I saw a commercial for the first time and said, I got to get that. It means solving a problem in a novel way. It means offering a unique perspective for philosophy, creating an unparalleled customer experience, championing a cause or a value that others overlook, or communicating your message with a voice and a style that is authentically, uniquely yours. My wife listens to some doctor about health, and he talks like this. Have you eaten Ritz crackers today? Let me tell you about Ritz crackers. Something like that. I can't imitate him very well, but he does that on purpose. It's his thing. But the point is, it's unique to him, and she's listened to probably a lot of his stuff. But so let's get some practical here, okay? Challenge the status quo. Look at your industry, your niche. What are the unquestioned assumptions? What are the common, these are questions I'm just saying to you, but you can take time and say, wait a minute, Michael, stop, time out right now, let's stop. What do you mean? What are the unquestioned assumptions? This is something you need to think about. What are the common frustrations that everyone just accepts? And what if you refuse to accept them? What is it that you and your venture, your company can do that no one else can do in quite the same way? What is your unique blend of passion, skill, and God-given insight? And sometimes being remarkably different means simply being the first to listen to and address a deep, unmet need that others have ignored because maybe they didn't know how to fix it. They didn't know how to address it, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to polarize a little bit. If you try to please everyone, you're not going to excite anybody. Being remarkably different might mean that some people just don't get you, and that's okay. The ones who do get you will become your most passionate advocates. Strategy number 4. This one's powerful too. The personal invitation. Broadcasting or truly connecting? Matthew 4:19, Jesus said, follow me and I will make you fishers of men, laddies. That was the Irish accent coming out of me. Forgive me, matter. Follow me and I'll make you fishers of men, he said. That wasn't on an email blast or on a ad at Madison Avenue. How do you actually get people to engage with you with what you're offering? Do you just put up a billboard and hope for the best? And by the way, you get something that way, by the way. Do you rely solely on mass marketing and impersonal ads? How did he gather his followers? How did he invite people into the most transformative journey imaginable? Listen, this is what you owe to yourself to do. Is slow down enough to say, how do I do this? Jesus, how did you do this? Put yourself on those dusty streets and say, he didn't drive by in a pickup truck with a megaphone. Overwhelmingly, Jesus relied on personal, relational invitations. He didn't just issue a general call from a distance. He looked people in the eye, he spoke to their hearts, and he invited them one by one or in small groups to come and see, to follow me. There was no elaborate sales pitch, no lengthy brochure, just a direct personal invitation from someone who saw them. People want to be seen. They want to be known. And he saw them and he knew them and he called them to something greater. People want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be understood. He did the same with James and John, with Matthew the tax collector, and with so many others. He met people where they were, by the lake, at a tax booth, under a fig tree, and he extended a personal call. Why? Because relationships are the currency of true influence. So here's the heart of the strategy. Genuine, lasting influence is almost always built on a foundation of authentic relationships and personal invitations. So you're building a company, you're going to do that with your team. And then they're going to reach out to certain people who are going to reach out to certain people. You're going to build relationally. and you'll have something that will endure. Personal invitations build trust and connection. There was the woman at the well, there was the calling of Peter and Andrew, there was Zacchaeus. All those things were personal, relational encounters. So you have to come to the conclusion, is it personal or is it automated? Well, how am I going to do this? The principle here is genuine influence is built on authentic relationships. Now, I'm not talking about something that isn't, but if you're trying to have influence in the marketplace, it's built on authentic relationships. Make people feel seen, make them feel understood, make them feel valued because it's true with you. So how are you inviting people to engage with your vision, your product, your service? Is it all about website traffic, email blasts, or are you intentionally creating opportunities for genuine human connection and personal invitations? It doesn't mean you can't use technology, of course, but it's about the spirit behind the invitation. It's about knowing your audience deeply enough to make the invitation relevant and personal. It's about building trust and rapport before you ask for a commitment. It's about making people feel seen, understood, and valued, not just like another number on a list. And it's about creating pathways for personal interaction, even if it's through a personalized email, a direct message, or a small group setting. So, practical application here. Identify key individuals, groups, and so forth. I'll get into that. Key individuals and groups. Who are the specific people or the types of people that you most want to invite into your sphere of influence right now? Some people they make a list, like a top 20 list or a dream 100 list. You may have heard of those things. It's a good practice. Who are the people that I most want? Think about your customers. Okay, most of your customers probably aren't going to be the ones you're going to be personally inviting if you have thousands of customers, but think about possibly the top 100. Maybe you can start with the top 20. These are the top 20 that I want to have. These ones or these groups. Think in terms of that handful that you can genuinely connect with. Understand their radio station, WIIFM, what's in it for me. Your invitation needs to resonate with their needs, with their desires, with their problems. What value will they receive by accepting? And then you're going to make it personal, even at scale. Use names, reference their specific interests if you know them. Show that you've done your homework and that it isn't just a generic blast. Create low barrier entry points. Not every invitation has to be for a big sale or a major commitment. Offer a free resource, an introductory webinar, a coffee chat, a chance to join a community. Make it easy for them to say yes to that first step. And follow up authentically. If someone responds, continue the personal engagement. Don't just hand them off to an automated sequence if you can help it. Let me tell you something from my own example. St. Patrick's Day, March 17th this year, every year for that matter. I was invited to be on, and I was on a podcast. It was an interview with Stronger Faith Ministries in Alabama, Tuscaloosa. I drove there. The man at the time had about roughly 100,000 subscribers. By the time my interview aired 3 or 4 months later, he had about 114,000 subscribers. My YouTube channel, I was never doing anything to promote it. I had I think 1,460 or something like that subscribers. It was sort of an afterthought for me. But I did this interview, and I noticed, I haven't checked it recently, but a few days ago, that interview on his channel had like 44,000 views. I loaded it on my no-name site, and the last time I checked, it had 121,000 views. It's a 2.5-hour interview, but because of the reaction that I got from that, my YouTube videos usually get hundreds of views, not tens and tens of thousands of views. Never happened. So I realized something. I tapped into a specific hunger that people had. They don't want just to have incredible strategies for business. They want to connect with God himself. They want to have that supernatural connection with God. I happen to own the domain Supernatural Business, so I thought, why not? Judy was the one who actually inspired me. She kept saying to me, honey, people are responding to that. You need to address that. You need to do that. So I decided to do what Matthew 4:23 says, because Jesus taught in the synagogues. That means there was a regular cycle. right? Every Saturday he was teaching in a synagogue. He was teaching. So I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to start off with every other Thursday night. So I did it last Thursday. I'm going to do it next Thursday and so forth. I'm going to teach for free. I'm going to teach the supernatural aspects of business and supernatural connection with God. And I'm going to teach that, the actual business strategies and the marketing strategies and the sales strategies and all those other things that are biblically derived and conform to natural law. I'll do that inside my school. But every other Thursday night, for now, and then maybe for the foreseeable future, frankly, I'm going to teach the supernatural. I'm going to give that. It's not a bait and switch. It's not like, okay, here's 2 seconds worth of content, and here's an hour of a presentation. It's not that. I'm actually endeavoring to give as much value as I can cram into the 1 hour period that I have allotted for the evening. And so what that does is, as I found, people have this incredible hunger and they want more. And I didn't expect it to be that way. In fact, I haven't checked in the last few hours, but apparently about 144 people went ahead and said, they said, how do I get involved with your school, your business thing? Okay. I just given them great content for free. And they said, but I want more. I want the other stuff. So just FYI tonight, the birthright of the believer is this trifecta. The birthright of the believer is three things. And by the way, Craig heartily invited me to share this. Otherwise, I wouldn't have even brought it up. And thank you for that, Craig. But there's this trifecta of biblical wisdom, natural law, and supernatural power. And that threefold cord is not easily broken. So tonight is a webinar where we're going to be talking about the School of Business and what all that is. It's not a teaching night. It's more an introduction to this. It's a discovery webinar. If anybody wants to go, you can go to supernaturalbusiness.com/JSB to register. And that's it for that. Now, that's tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. So that's it for that I had to share. And I appreciate your attention. Hopefully you stuck with me. I hadn't been able to see any of the comments yet. So Craig, do you want me to not come back next time, or should we continue next time? Are we okay? Is this hit something for everybody?
This is awesome. This is really good. I gave him all of this written down for him, and I just told him to present this for me. So obviously,
thank you very much.
Michael, this is awesome. Taking good leaders and making them great. Guys, real quick, anyone want to take we've got time for just a couple of questions for Michael.